right, let's see here. Bada boom. Awesome. Cornelia White in the building with us on tonight. And we are getting ready to, I guess this is going to be take number 2 or 3. They say the third time is a charm. But see if we can give a few minutes for the viewers to hop back on. And we do apologize for the inconvenience happens. And I think the key is to know how to persevere anyway and in spite of. So Cornelia, we're going to wait for them to continue to log back on. But you were sharing with us that you were from the big town of High Point, and how you grew up there, and eventually the university began to buy up everything, and so it changed the community. And how did that affect you as a child coming up?
The university didn't really start. They didn't start buying everything until I probably got into my teenage years.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much my teenage years, but it didn't affect me at all. It just pretty much this. It was just a lot of streets that we couldn't go on.
Okay.
As us being that first generation to be there, to grow up and could experience all the things that High Point had to offer before High Point University began to buy everything. I wouldn't say it really affected me. I say it affected the kids that were coming up behind us, because they weren't able to experience what we experienced as kids, because most of that stuff was taken away by the university.
Okay, so what age was it that you left High Point, and at that point you moved to Georgia, correct?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Yes. So the story of my life, the story of Cornelia. I left High Point, North Carolina, when I was about maybe 15, 16 years old, and I moved to the state of New York.
Oh, okay. Now, were you in the city or were you upstate?
I was actually Long Island, New York.
Okay, yeah. So let me back up because this is gonna more than likely play out as we get into the conversation. So you left High Point right around 15 years old. Tell me a little bit about some of the things that you were able to acquire as a teenager that later on in life proved to help you in some way.
Okay, we went out just a little bit.
Okay, I apologize.
The last part of.
So you left High Point at 15, and the reason why I ask this is because, the age 15, can you hear me? Are you able to hear me still?
Yes.
Okay. So 15 is a very important age in my opinion. I think, they always say that girls mature quicker than boys and things of that nature, but at any rate, 15 is a very intricate age. And so when you left High Point as a teenager, did you see yourself as still a child, or did you see yourself as a young adult?
I saw myself part as being still a child, and part as a young adult. Because of the things that I went through, and the things that I went through in my life made me have to grow up really, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
So part of me was part of me was kind of grown, and then the other part of me was still that child because I was pushed to be older than what I was.
Okay, okay. And how did that affect you?
It took a toll on me. It really did. But I didn't show it. I didn't show it to my parents. But it took a toll on me because I missed some of the things being that teenager. I missed that actually be it because, like I said, I was robbed of my childhood.
Right.
So the things that most teenagers did, I didn't do.
Okay. So when leaving,
So as far as it,
go ahead.
so as far as mentally affecting me, it took a real mental hold on me.
So when you got to New York, what happened then? Did things change for you, or did it continue in that same direction?
Um, the way I got to New York, how I even ended up in New York, starting from the age of 8 years old, when I had been molested by two family members. So it took me to a place where at that moment I was lost. So I never told anybody about what happened. I never came out about that until last year.
Wow. So this happened before you left for New York? Are you there?
That happened when I was 8 years old.
Okay, so that was when you were still in High Point.
Right, I was still in High Point. So going through that, that's how the story of Not Made to Fit came about.
Okay.
So once I went through that, it was like a repeated thing that was happening in my life. I didn't tell my parents. I wouldn't tell my parents none of it. I thought at that time it was something normal, something that girls go through. So I never told because for one, I was told not to tell or I would get in trouble. So I can say I grew up sort of fast. Because I grew up fast. I was introduced to intercourse at the age of 8 years old.
Wow.
Against my will. So as the years went on, certain things in my life began to change. Like it was distance, like my so close to your father, and then all of a sudden the distance come between you all, you start looking for your father
Mm-hmm.
in different relationships and different things. You start looking for your father. So I started to go through that part of my life, and then that's how I ended up in New York. So, just to skip over, a few things, that's how I ended up in New York. It
Okay.
was the one of the worst years I could ever experience
Mm-hmm.
in my life.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned out of that the book came about. So out of that experience, that's where the book was birthed. Not made to fit in.
Repeat that again.
You mentioned earlier that that's kind of where the book had came from that experience. That had a lot to do with the book.
Yes, that was the not made to fit in is basically the complete story of the beginning of my life as a child into where I am now, through all I went through, to all the trauma that I went through, and I'm standing today, but everything that I went through, I put into words
Mm-hmm.
and put it into a book and shared it with the world.
So I want to talk about the book for a moment, but I want to ask you this. You said you put it into words. So did that give you life? Did that give you strength? Did that give you understanding? Did it give you healing? Talk a little bit about the book and what it did for you, other than just being able to express it in words.
Writing, writing not made to fit in. Um, it brought a lot of closure to me
Okay.
because I was in darkness for a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just sitting there, just writing those words and just replaying some of the things, some of the chapters brought back a lot of fun memories, but some of the chapters brought back a whole lot of hurtful, painful memories that I needed to release. I needed to let go so that I could live.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I was literally drowning, per se. That book, writing the book, and God giving me the words to share, literally was like a lifeline for me. It's like
Okay.
that book, like God just threw the lifeline in, and I just held on to it. He pulled me out.
Mm.
So, not made to fit in. It changed the way I looked at myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of females go through so much, and they carry what they went through into their future, and it caused them just to stay stagnant in that one place where they can't grow. So, not made to fit in. um it healed me, it gave me life. What I had been holding in and feeling towards people in silence.
Right. 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 So speaking of people, how did you ever address, or the family member, or whoever it was that did that to you? Was that ever addressed?
It never was.
No.
It
Okay.
never was addressed, and um on this day, um I would never confront them unless, you know that's what God, wanted me to do. But I don't feel no hurt anymore.
Okay. Okay.
So it's like no point of bringing it back, bringing it up. because I don't feel any hurt. I held it in for so long, but like I said, when I wrote "Not Made to Fit In," it released everything.
Wow. And that's extremely important, because so often, we're made to be victimized for being the victim. Tell us a little bit about the book. For those who are watching and listening, somebody who may be going through the same situation, because unfortunately, that's not an uncommon, situation. We hear about situations like this so much over and over again. And so, tell us a little bit about the book and how could someone be helped by reading the book.
Not Made to Fit In um, is a book where, if you're in a any type of domestic toxic situation, as you read my story, you can see that I I am who you are. What you're going through now, that's who I was. I am that person. And well, I was that person.
Wow.
And as you read my story, as you read what God had allowed me to share. That's not all of it, but that's what God allowed me to share. Because there's every part of that book, there's someone now this day
Mm-hmm.
that's living in that situation,
Yeah.
that's living that life in silence like I did, that's living that life in darkness like I did, and you just don't know how to get out. But as you read the story, as you read my book, you will see, and I know that he will do this the same way he showed me. He can show you how to get out of that situation, because I was facing death.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in New York, I faced death several times, but I didn't. I knew who God was. I just didn't know how to call him, because I was stuck in darkness and in silence for what was going on in my life.
Wow.
So not made to fit in is just that biography for someone who is literally in darkness, and you live in this life where you just feel that you're not made to fit in anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you don't know how to open the door. You're just stuck there. That's what not made to fit in. Um, is literally telling you everything. Like I was stuck and how to get out of it. This is how you get out of it. You don't have to live. You don't have to live like that. That's not your life. That's not who you are. That's
Right.
what not made to fit in is all about.
That's awesome. Shelly, who's happens to be my wife, she'll put this right over here. Let me get this over here, because here we have, let's see here, all your social media, or some of your social media information. So for those that are watching tonight and you'd like to get a copy of not only this book but also the other book that you have authored, Cornelia, which is The Girl Who Had Faith, which we'll hear a little bit about here shortly, I'm sure. But www.fearlessandbold.com, is that where can they get your book there as well, or is that just for your boutique?
That's you can actually get the book from that link right there.
Okay.
But at this moment we're redoing it, so it's getting doctored on. It's having a little surgery on it.
Nice,
But we're
nice.
trying to be back up here, hopefully by the middle of December. But the best way to get the book is by Amazon and going over
over to Amazon, purchase it through Amazon, or if you wanted a signed copy, you can actually order it through me, and I'll sign it and send it right on to you.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So, is there another way they can get it if they wanted to get it autographed other than Amazon? How would they get in touch with you through the fearlessandbold.com?
If you wanted to get a signed copy, you would send me a message through my DM.
Okay.
I'll sign it. Whenever you pay for it, I'll send it out like right then and there the same day to you. Should take about 3 to 4 days, 3 to 5 days to get there to you, but I'll send it right out as soon as I sign it. Send it right out to you.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can find her on there. A little too quick there. But you can also reach her on, as I said, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. The TikTok is Domestic Violence I Am, and then Instagram is 2021 I underscore AM or I am I underscore am. And of course, as I said, the website www.fearlessandbold.com. So let's talk a little bit more about your book, Cornelia. So let me get this comment up here first. Shelley says that sometimes fear will paralyze you from making that move out of a situation. And so what was it for you that allowed you to understand that it was time to move on and you did not have to stay in that situation any longer?
Um, um, like Miss Shelley said, I was paralyzed because when you're going through any type of domestic violence in a relationship, you no longer hear your voice anymore. You
Wow.
no longer see you.
Mm-hmm.
So you're blindfolded by everything. The only thing that you can see in this dark world is your abuser. That's it. There's nothing else that you can see.
Wow.
Um, but I was just to a point where I was tired. I was, I was, I was drained. I tried to commit suicide.
Wow.
Um, I was just, I was just tired.
Mm.
I didn't want to. I didn't want, I had to go through that. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want my boys to think that it was okay to treat a woman like that, or my
Absolutely.
girls to think that it was okay for them to be treated like that. So I was tired. I wanted to be happy. I wanted to be happy, and I knew that it was just a cycle over and over and over, and it
Mm.
was like this is draining. I just give up now. I just don't want to do it anymore. Sometimes I went back because of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say fear, it wasn't fear of being afraid. It wasn't fear of being afraid of who I was with. It was fear of what the family would say. That's the hurtful thing. It was fear of what family would say, what friends would say. And when you're in a domestic situation,
Mm-hmm.
family and friends can say the wrong thing to make you stay in that spot.
Talk to me about that. Talk to me about that. So you weren't so much. It wasn't so much that you had fear of the person you were with. It was more fear of what family would say. Is
Right. So, um, I I kept everything
Okay.
a while, for a very long time, I kept everything, I kept silent, because I didn't want to hear my mother tell me that, that's what you get,
Wow.
you shouldn't you shouldn't have never left, or you shouldn't want to be grown.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you get. You know, so when you hear those things, it's like, what's the point of even running to you when you're supposed to be my safe haven? What's the point of running to you? Because you're beating me just like he's beating me, you know?
Right.
So it was fear of hearing them say the negative stuff instead of feeding me the positive stuff or helping me come out. So I kept silent because I just didn't want to go through that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was more afraid. I was more afraid of family than I was really
The
afraid of
abuser,
God.
I take it, was physical abuse. And so was it verbal abuse as well, or just the physical? Not as though, both are horrible, might I say, but the reason why I asked that is because you said you were more afraid of what the parents and family would say than you were what, the situation that you were actually in. So the abuse that you were receiving from him, it was physical and mental.
So it was, oh my, woo, physical, mental, emotional, financial, sexual abuse.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Wow. So you're getting the same abuse from him. You didn't, but it hurt even more coming from your parents. And so I want to make sure I understand you correctly. If I'm understanding you correctly, what I'm getting is you were getting the abuse from him, but you didn't want to get it from your parents or from your family.
Right,
Um,
right.
So what made it so much more difficult getting the verbal abuse from your parents versus all of the other kind of abuse you were going through with him?
We was breaking up. Say it again. I'm sorry.
I said, so what was so different from all the abuse you were getting from him? In other words, what your family would say, how much worse could it be than what you were actually going through at the time? And why was it seeming like the family's words would be worse than what you were going through?
I can say it was more of what was more hurtful from family is when you're really, you know what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
You've been beat, you've been thrown across wooden tables, you've been smacked in the face, all of this stuff. Um, just to go and hear someone in your family say, that's what you get. That's painful by itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just it was, hearing certain things from family compared to what I was actually going through. It was more of the verbal things that hurted more
Yeah.
than the verbal things compared to what he would say. His verbal things were more like, telling me, I'll never be anything, or telling me, I'm ugly, those type of verbal things compared to, you know, you deserve it. You shouldn't want to run out in the streets, or that's what you get, or if I was you, um, I would leave, or you the one that's, you the one that's stupid enough to stay there. Those verbal things are painful by themselves when it's
Mm-hmm.
coming from family, when it's coming from friends, and those are the ones that you're coming to for help.
Yeah. I think, Cornelia, I think a lot of times, you said it really well a little while ago. They were saying, the wrong things at the wrong time. And, not to get all deep and spiritual, Paul said everything that's lawful is an expedient. And sometimes we just got to know when to just, comfort, console, and things of that nature, because obviously what you're going through is bad, and they knew it. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, we as people, as family, we have to learn, in my humble opinion, to be that support system for our loved ones, even when the choices that they make are not the choices we would have wanted them to make.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
See, when you're in when you are in a domestic
Mm-hmm.
situation, you respond to not as dealing with a victim of domestic violence. So they speak before they think about what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why when I wrote "Not Made to Fit In," it released all of that what I was feeling towards people when I was going through that certain situation and how they would respond. It released that anger that I had still had for years towards them.
Mm-hmm.
It was towards the words, not the actual person. It was the words that I had anger, and releasing it, thinking about it now, it built me. It made me who I am today.
Mm-hmm.
To sit there, and if I had a conversation with them, should love you. I forgave you long time ago because I had to forgive myself because I was blaming myself for everything that was going on in my life, because that's all that my hearing, that's all that I heard was, that's what you get. It's your fault.
Mm-hmm.
Until I realized it wasn't my fault.
Wow.
So I, for, I, I forgave the words, it was the words that came out of the person that I forgave. So um, I went through most things that some females at my age would have never experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just one person. That relationship after relationship, I was being abused, but at the same time, like I said earlier, I was looking for my father,
Mm.
and he was just not there in these particular men that I was dating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I said, New York was the one in New York. I was, like I said, I was probably about 15, 16. He was in his 30s.
Mm.
So that was just torture. I was locked in the basement for 3 days, no food to eat.
Wow.
I mean, his was on a different level,
Mm.
a whole different level.
Yeah.
Um, I was in the basement while another woman was upstairs. I had he put a gun to my head while I was in the basement. once he finally let me out the basement, I'm telling him that I'm hungry. He give me cold food to eat,
Wow.
and I didn't eat. I didn't. I still got a mind. Um, I'm just trapped right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he also, I was thrown over the table, wooden table, just because someone said hello and they was neighbors.
Oh.
I
Wow.
was thrown across the table.
So how long were you with this guy?
I was taken to probably 3 years, probably
Wow.
3 years, and um, the final straw was when he actually took high school. Um, and it was about, it was late. I want to say it was probably about 1, 2 in the morning. It was really late.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, you know, if you scream, it wouldn't even matter because nobody would hear you. I
Wow.
didn't understand what he meant at that time until he was like, look up. And um, I looked up and I saw that the sign said, so in my mind,
I'm sorry, you cut
no
out
one's going to hear me because
the sign said what?
you're entering into a death area.
Oh.
So no one's gonna hear you scream anyway, no matter what. So I remember him taking me behind that high school, and he was getting, and I told him, no matter what you do, don't throw that acid in my face. No matter
Mm.
what you do, don't throw that acid in my face.
Wow.
And it was really dark. Um, it was really dark. When I say dark, it was dark that you couldn't even see. You couldn't even see the woods, but it's like he had done this before, like he knew where to go.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when enough was by the grace of God, and may my grandmother continue to rest in peace. By my grandmother's prayers, just praying. It was my grandmother prayers that kept that helped me out of that situation because I knew God. I just didn't know how to call out his name for help.
Mm-hmm.
So it was two guys, the voices that I heard. And they had on the purest white shirts that you could see. That's the only thing that you could see on them was their shirts because it
Mm-hmm.
was just this bright white. They were really, really bright white. And they called him. They told him to come here. I'm still back there, back by the woods. They told him to come here. And I heard a voice say, walk. So I began to walk back towards the light in the
Mm-hmm.
parking lot where he had parked the car. And I can hear these guys telling him, we're just walking. Um, we went to school out at 2 o'clock in the morning just to see their old high school. So I finally get to the light where the car was, and I stop. He comes to the car. He totally forget why we're there, and and the guys were gone. At that very moment, that was it. God had sent two angels to save my
Mm-hmm.
life because he done forgot we had done forgot what we were out there for. So at that moment, I'm like, you know what? I'm going home. I'm going back to North Carolina. I'm going back to High Point. I need to call my mother. I don't got no money. I need to go home.
Mm-hmm. So you,
I actually made it home, but
so how did you get home?
I went back.
How'd you get home?
I got home by Greyhound. I got
Oh,
home by
okay.
Greyhound.
Okay, okay. So now you're back in High Point.
That took, and
You
I went back.
okay? That's some ordeal, Cornelia, that you had to go through, and to make it through that, as my wife is saying, not only were you strong, but clearly God was with you. Because who knows? Well, I guess we all have an idea of what He would have probably done had God not intervened. How did that change you going back to High Point?
Honestly, I looked at men different. I
Mm-hmm.
looked at I looked at men as everything was the same.
Mm-hmm.
And this was, speaking for me, speaking from my experience,
Right.
didn't want to. I did not want to date another black man.
Mm-hmm. Understandably so.
I looked at all black men. I looked at all black men the same. I said I would not date another black man,
Mm-hmm.
and that was no different.
So tell me a little bit about your next relationship. You said you didn't want to date another black guy based on your previous experiences and things. And so how did your life turn from there? Who was your next boyfriend or your next?
Relationship was with my daughter, my oldest daughter dad. Um, he basically in the beginning blinded me by gifts.
Mm,
Um, he just bought from jewelry, clothes, cars, everything I asked for
mm-hmm.
to literally buying me a home, and I was blinded by all of that to see who he really was. So the material stuff blinded me. Um, we got married. We got married. Um, and again, I had to fight my way out of that relationship. Um, his mother, we can't do this. So that the violence in that relationship was more of his temper. He had a very, very bad temper. And I remember having my baby in my hand, and his fist, he balled up his fist, and he missed me by some inches, and ends up, while I had my baby in my hand, he missed my face by a couple of inches. And he ended up punching whatever this plate thing that we had on the couch.
Okay, okay.
He was very controlling. He was one of those ones where he didn't want me to be around my family.
Mm.
Um, my phone, my phone line was on his account. Like I had no privacy at all. Um, his mother, his mother was scary. So that relationship was more dealing with, like I dealt with a whole lot. So that relationship, I remember they were from West Virginia. So I remember us going. so so I remember us going to West Virginia to visit his mother, and I walked into the living room,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just I could, well, don't let me piggyback for a minute. I couldn't understand why I would. She made this one particular thing, and I would eat it cold. So always wanted her to make that dish, that one dish. I even when we would leave West Virginia, I would ask him, "Do you know how to make that your mother made?" And I was like, "Do you know how to make it exactly like her?" Because I would eat it cold when she made it. I could go in the refrigerator and eat it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I didn't think anything of it until I didn't think anything of it until and things just, things was weird things started happening. And I remember seeing in the living room behind the television, there was two dogs. She had two dogs. She had one white dog and she had one black dog.
Mm-hmm.
And they had pins sticking out of them.
Oh Lord
These
Jesus.
dogs had these pins sticking out of them. So I'm sitting here like, oh, we gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta
Mm-hmm.
go. Because is that supposed to be me and him?
So
So
let me interrupt you for a minute if I can, so I can.
it's like she,
I want to get a little clarity. So I know earlier you said you didn't want to mess with any more black guys. So this guy was this was a white guy.
yes,
Okay. Okay.
yes,
Okay. Yeah.
yes.
So the next morning the dogs were gone.
Yes, next morning they were gone.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, things just started happening strange. I would be laying in the bed. I remember laying in the bed back at our house. I lived in Kernersville, North Carolina
Okay.
at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I lived in Kernersville. Um, Back at the house, I remember laying, and I laid there, and all of a sudden, I go to sleep, and I'm in this. It's like I'm in this dream. It's like I done literally went to hell, and I'm sitting at this table. This table is like really, really long. I mean, really long. And at one table, you see this big old beast looking thing one side of the table, at the other end of the table, and he's talking, but I don't know, I'm not understanding what he's saying to me. And I wake up, and here's this big old thing standing over my bed, dressed in this dark cloak, and my room is like ice. And I reach over to touch my husband. His body is just as cold as ice. And the only thing at this time I could do was grab. He had bought me a cross. And it had Jesus on the cross. The only thing I could do was grab that cross, Jesus. So
Wow.
then it just changed. and I couldn't stay in the house. I would sit outside in the driveway telling him, "You got to come home." I would sit out there until he got home. I would not go into the house because I was just that afraid. And I never understood why all this was happening, but she wanted until, and she had told me that his mother had wanted my baby, and I couldn't understand what was you gonna do with my child, and you're sitting here almost maybe 70 years old. What are you gonna do with my child? So I went through that. As I got out of that relationship, I went through that. It stayed with me. Whatever she, um 7 years ago, I I I lost my daughter.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. My
I
condolences.
couldn't bring. No, no, no. She didn't pass away.
Oh, okay, 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 okay.
What I mean by I lost her is when I was getting ready to move to Georgia, the courts wouldn't let me take my daughter with me.
Okay, okay.
So whatever she had done, I was still experiencing that witchcraft stuff that she was dealing
Hmm.
messing with. Um, I
So,
fought and I fought, so, and
so when you left for Georgia, you left going to Georgia. You left him at that time.
when I came to Georgia,
Yeah. Did you leave Kernersville to get away from him, or?
no, 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 no. I was I when I wasn't with him. I wasn't with him anymore.
Okay.
I got out of that relationship when my daughter was about. My daughter is 18 now, so I got out of that relationship. I got out of that.
So let me ask you this, Cornelia. I spoke to you earlier, and one of the reasons why I wanted to reach out to you because I had heard your testimony about how you were sick and you were kind of at a really sketchy point. But when I reached out to you, you began to share with me some other parts of your testimony, and one of those testimonies you had mentioned that you had died and they had to resuscitate you. Tell me a little bit about that ordeal. How did that all happen, and at what point in your life did that happen?
That's how I got to Georgia.
Okay.
That's how I got to Georgia. So, I was actually with my youngest son's father at this time. I was with him, and it was one of those one of I'm sorry.
That's okay. Take your time.
It was it was one of those traumatic things that you see on TV, um, that you wouldn't really think happen would happen to you. Um, it started when uh, ooh, we were supposed to go out and celebrate his birthday. Um, him and his twin brother's birthday. I, something just didn't feel right with me at that time. Telling him, I kept telling him not to go. Um, maybe let's just go somewhere else. Um, I ended up that night actually. That night, I didn't even have I didn't even have a babysitter. I didn't even have nobody to watch the kids. I wasn't even really looking for anybody to watch the kids at all. Um, I told them that I was just like, I'm not going. I don't want to go. Um, I don't think you should go. And I remember starting an argument with him to make him stay, and I locked him in the house, and he ended up calling the police. And the police, basically told me, you can't keep him in the house. You gotta let him out the house. And I'm sitting here, telling the police officer at this time, like, I just don't think that it's safe for him to stay in the house. And of course, you know, couldn't keep him in the house. He went out, and um, I told him I wasn't going, and he was like, "Oh, you better be there." And I was like, "No, I still something doesn't feel right. I don't want to go. This new guy done came in out of nowhere that something about him isn't right."
Mm-hmm.
So, no, he didn't want to listen to me. I didn't really want to mess up. It's his birthday. Him and his twin brother. I don't want to mess that up. I want them to enjoy it. Um, so I actually found a sitter. My sister ends up keeping, um, which was his father. She ends up keeping him. We went out, you know, to the facility that we were going into. Nobody was there. Nobody was there. It was empty. I looked at him. I told him, "Let's go. Nobody's here. If you leave, they will follow you." So I still got this feeling that something is getting ready to go wrong. Something does not feel right.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Let's go. If we leave now, they can follow wherever y'all go. So, let's go somewhere else." You already saying that. So we in a club is empty. What time is the club gonna get crowded? It's 11 o'clock.
Right.
Next thing you know, is the one guy that is this one guy that actually iffy about anyway when we was at home and he would come around, and he actually went out with us that night. And it's like he followed them around and then he watched them, everything that they did. Um, and then he just finally disappeared in the club. No one saw him. He disappeared in the club. And then when it was time to go, here he is. So I'm like, where you come from? You know? So that's why, a lot of people say no to the group. So he was just that, friendly. He was just that friendly type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was real friendly. He always wanted to help somebody. Anything somebody needed help, he was always that one that tried to help. I used to tell him all the time, don't jump into nobody else's business that don't have anything anything to do with us. So we're actually leaving the club, and I tell him I want a hot dog. I'm hungry. I've been drinking, so I need to feed this liquor. I don't want to, I don't want to some. I need to put some grease on this liquor. I need something. Everything happened so fast. I don't even know if I ate the hot dog or not. Everything happened so fast. So as we're leaving out, this building was a one-way in, one-way out.
Wow.
It was one way in, one way in, and one way out. And where we parked at, I rode with the girls, and he rode with the guys. I rode with the girls, and as we're walking back towards the car, I hear all this commotion going on over by the car. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on. What's the problem? So I get to the car, and I'm like, the one of the new guys that we never hung out with is starting drama with these young ladies. And now the young ladies are trying to fight. Now the young ladies are trying to fight. There's two girls I came with, but this guy over here starting, nitpicking with these girls because they don't want to talk to him. If that didn't happen, we could have got out in time.
Right, right.
All that didn't happen. So as we're leaving, again, love is letting out. So it's some Mexican guys, and then there's these African American guys. They're in the middle of the street. So instead of him and his brother them turning to just avoid it, the guy that was the new guy tells them that he knows the African American guys that's out there that's fighting. They stop to try, well, let's help them then. No, we don't need to help them. We need to go.
Yeah.
We don't got nothing to do with that. So at that moment, everything happened so fast. The Mexican guy, Mr. Rodriguez, he ends up shooting, and he literally just shot him in the head, the chest, the stomach,
wow,
right there in front of me.
Wow.
And I remember him turning around. He said something, I don't know what he said, and he dropped to the ground. Before that, I got shot because I was telling, his brother fiance to open the door. I don't like now this day, I don't like riding on the passenger side of someone's car, because I couldn't get out of his name. I could have did something, but I was struggling to get out of the car.
Mm-hmm.
So I told her to get out of the car. We ran up there. There's bullets flying everywhere. You got the police shooting. Then you
Wow.
this Mexican guy shooting. So it's like this big old scene that you see on television that's now a reality of your life.
Wow.
And I remember running back to, it's like I froze up. Before I started running, I froze up. And then it was like this wind, like you could feel like this real thick wind come up behind me. And you could feel pressure, like the bullet was supposed to go through my, that's that's where the bullet was supposed to go, but it was like this wind that came behind me and pushed the bullet down, and the
Wow.
bullet hit me in my hand. Then I didn't even know I was hit. But if the bullet, by the grace of God, if the bullets would have the chest and the stomach, so if those bullets would have went through him, they would have hit me everywhere they hit him. And by the grace of God, God kept me, and I'm truly just I can't even thank God enough because I don't know what my kids would have, where they would have been, what they would have done without
Right.
their mother and their father.
Yeah.
So I ran back to the car, and at that moment, I didn't even know I was hit. I didn't feel the bullet, anything, until his brother fiance was like, "You're bleeding. You know, you've been shot." You know, I look at it when she tell me. I look at it. I didn't think anything of anything. I don't feel any pain or anything. My mind is just going in 50 million directions right now. I'm trying to. We were at that moment. We were. There was three of us out there certified with the state of North Carolina. We were nurses. We were CPR certified. Everything possible we were certified and licensed to do in a situation like that we could not start CPR on him, not touch him at all. And it took EMS every bit of at least 10-15 minutes to even get there. So when they finally got there, they started rolling him everywhere, and I'm just telling them, "Don't do that." The officer is like, get back," and I'm like, "He's gone." You know, you rolling them. There's bullets already in them. These bullets are just moving around. So they take us. They put him in an ambulance, and then they put his twin brother in an ambulance because he was shot too. And they put me in an ambulance with his twin brother, and you know his brother was in there. They was working on him at this time. I didn't even care about my hand. I still don't feel any pain. Um, his brother begins to talk. They're twins. They're twins.
Mhm.
So his brother begins to, tell that he was getting cold. So I'm like, you gotta stay with us. You're gonna make it. You gotta get to the hospital. Stay with us. And then his brother started talking to me, but it wasn't his voice. It was his brother. It was his twin brother's voice.
Mhm.
So he was talk. It was like his brother was talking to me. The EMS that had his brother was right beside us, and so obviously, I guess he was feeling his brother. His brother had done passed away. Um, so then they shut the hospital down in Greensboro, North Carolina. They shut the hospital down. Um, they put me in this. They put me in a room, and I got, the only thing I could at this moment, I'm just out of it, and I'm asking them to call my mother. Could you call my mother? I called them. They gave me a phone call. I could barely talk, and that's really all I can remember about the conversation that I had with my mom. Um, So there was two detectives out there outside of my door. No one could get in the hospital. No one could get out of the hospital. They tried to say it was gang related. It was not gang related at all. It was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. Um, After that, the there's The nurse comes in and she says to me, I need to see your hand. I'm still not feeling anything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel any type of pain at all. It's not bothering me or anything. But the bullet was still in there. Um, so she tells me that she's going to have to stick this needle right where the bullet was. And I'm not going to do that. You better stick it somewhere else to make it and put me to sleep.
Right, right, right.
You're not going to stick that needle. And she was like, I have to because I don't want you to get, you know, an infection or anything, so we have to stick it there. So that she she ended up sticking that needle in my hand. I yelled, they closed the door. So then at this point, um, I think I began to go into I don't know if it was a seizure or what I was what I was having, but they ended up putting pads. They had already done cut my clothes, so they ended up putting pads on the hospital bed so that I wouldn't hurt myself. So they padded up the hospital bed, and I just remember everybody coming in. My father, my sister. Uh, then I remember, and this is when everything just happened. The nurse came in. I remember the nurse come in about your fiance. And I remember telling her, I just shook my head, no. And, she came up a little close. She came up a little closer towards my head, and she was like, he didn't make it. So at that moment, I was just numb to the world when she came in. Told me that I remember hollering so loud. I screamed his name, and then all of a sudden something happened. As I laid there in the bed, I'm looking at the door. The way my bed was straight up against the wall. The head part was up against the wall, and I could see straight out the door. The way my foot was at the door, I could see straight out the door the way my hospital bed was.
Mm-hmm.
And on the left side of my door stood this lady. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
It was this lady on the left side of the door, which when people was coming in, she would be on their right side. I see her. Like, I literally see this lady standing there, but nobody else see her. So I'm looking at her. She's looking at me. She's standing there. I see family still coming in, and then his mother comes. She stopped at the door. But this lady was still standing there that nobody seemed to see but me. So I'm looking at her, and she was just as still as she could be. It's like she didn't blink, she didn't move, she didn't say a word, she didn't do anything, but just stand there looking at me. And all of a sudden, I went out. I guess I ended up seeing this bright light. It was a bright light, and as I saw this light, I seen this like this shadow of a person coming towards me, but it was like they were on one side, I was on the other side, and it was hard for them to come over to where I was, because it was like a force field that was blocking where they couldn't come through,
Mm-hmm.
and unless someone opened it. So it's this real bright light, and then it's the shadow of a shadow of a person coming towards me. And as they got closer, they stopped. It's like they stopped right there as they got closer, because they couldn't touch me. They couldn't come through.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, that that shadow of a person began to move back. It's like they were being pulled back, and that's when they, I guess at that moment they had them brought me back.
Wow.
I could hear the man, the male doctor, or the male doctor tell the lady, we had to bring her back. We lost her. I had to pop one of these, and we lost her for a minute. We brought her back, and the lady that was standing at the door, she was gone.
Wow.
She was gone. She wasn't there anymore. So I asked my aunt, at the time, at that time she was an evangelist. I asked her, like, no, I started asking everybody, did y'all not see the lady that was standing at the door? And everybody was just like, no, we didn't see no lady. It wasn't a lady there. I said, there was a lady standing there. Y'all didn't see her? It was like, no, we didn't see her. And I'm like, okay. So I asked my aunt, and she had told me that was literally, she was waiting for you. She was coming, she was coming to get you.
Mm.
What you saw was almost the other side, and he was coming for you, but it just wasn't your time. So he couldn't come to the other side, which it wasn't your time to go.
So do you feel you had a,
Ended up suffering through.
you ended up suffering through what?
I ended up suffering with anxiety attacks really, really bad, and they lost me, and then they lost me again.
Mm. So Cornelia, you have such a awesome testimony, and I know there's so much more to hear. I'd like to get you back on at a later date. Maybe we can work through some of the technical difficulties we've been fighting against all night, and get you back at a later date. Hear some more of your story. Hear a little bit more about your other book, The Girl Who Had Faith, and just kind of go from there. I also understand that you ride motorcycles, so there's still a whole lot we want to dig into. But I think we're going to definitely have to get you back here for another segment.
Yes, I would love it.
Okay.
I would love it.
One last question. So you were brought back. Did you feel like you had a new lease on life, and how did you go about things after that whole ordeal?
At that moment, when I was brought back, I felt that I felt that I had, it was a second chance for me.
Okay. Good. Good. Good.
And it was time to, because I was killing myself, really, because when he passed away, I moved out of that house and I moved into a house closer to the graveyard.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So the second time they lost me, when I suffered, I suffered with panic attacks really, really bad, where I was losing oxygen, every time. So I was fighting, and I had to teach my kids what to do
Mhm.
when I had them, because it was just nobody there but me and them. I had to teach them what to do, and I was just, it was a second chance for me. Um, just passing away twice,
Yeah.
and God giving, God, making death behave on your behalf,
Come on now.
because He's not done.
Right.
He's not done with you yet. Um, was an eye opener. Was an eye opener because I faced death a lot of times, taking that second chance, and I ended up packing my things, and I left North Carolina and moved to Georgia with only $3,000 in my pocket and my kids. And by the grace of God, I'm here. We're here, and none of it would be, none of it, none of it would be possible if it wasn't for God letting my mother to have me go through everything that I went through, just for Him to get the glory out of my story.
And He will do it, man. He will do it. So on part 2, what we'll do is we'll talk about the God side of things. We heard about all the bad stuff, but we also understand that it worked together for your good. But we'd like to dig into the whole God's part of it on this second segment. How's that sound?
Great,
All
awesome,
right, good, good, good.
awesome.
We want to thank you guys for tuning in with us on tonight. We want to thank all the viewers for pressing play and just hanging out with us on tonight, hearing the story, testimony. I should say it's not a story; it's a testimony, because even though it was rough, God got the glory. And so we know the book of Romans says, and we know that all things work together for our good, to those that love God, to those who are called according to His purpose. Cornelia, we want to congratulate you for fighting the good fight, for not giving up, and for continuing to press your way even still. And I'm sure that through your experience, you have been afforded the wisdom and the wherewithal to help other young ladies who are in similar situations. So one more time, let's see here. We have one more comment we want to share. Benini was mad tonight and didn't want this message of hope, overcoming obstacles, triumph and victory, having another chance to live. By the grace of God, life-saving Savior is able to keep. He is indeed. He is indeed. He is able to keep. And so we'll make sure next time we have a few more safeguards in place to combat the technical difficulties. But Cornelia, it was a pleasure talking with you on tonight, and we look forward to sitting down with you and chopping it up again. So just hold on, okay? Just being so transparent and just sharing with us on tonight. We're just grateful for such an awesome testimony. And, we have to understand that, if He can do it for one, He can do it for another. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. So just in case somebody out there who's watching this, maybe you're going through some similar situations and you feel as though maybe you don't know if you can make it. Well, Cornelia is proof that you can make it. And so there's victory after the trial. The Bible says, after that you have suffered a while, I would establish you, strengthen you, settle you, and make you perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Retro with you on tonight with another episode on the Retro Philosophy Show. The wonderful, once again, Cornelia White. Let's give her a round of applause. Come on, make some noise for my homegirl. Where is it at? Here we are. Here we go. I gotta do it. I need some noise. Where's it at? Bada boom, bada bang. There we go. Make some noise for Cornelia White. There we go. All right, man. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, remember God loves you, and so do we, okay? And with God, as Lady McIver is saying, you can make it. All right? So never give up. Always hold on and keep the faith. Once again, it's your boy Retro. And remember, make sure you go over to the YouTube channel and like and subscribe.